If you're on a GLP-1 agonist like Ozempic or Mounjaro, what you eat matters a lot. Not just for your weight loss, but also for how you feel. In this video, I'm gonna break down the top 5 foods I recommend avoiding in order to prevent side effects and maximize your weight loss. So let's get started. The first food I recommend avoiding is red meats. So think steaks and burgers. I know, I sound crazy because everybody else on the internet tells you red meat is the gold standard, that you should be eating as much red meat as possible, you should be eating keto, you should be eating carnivore. And I agree. I do think red meat is superior to white meat when it comes to nutrition. However, for those of you on GLP-1s, especially just starting out on GLP-1s, red meat will lead to significantly more gastric side effects. And let's talk about the science why. So red meat has a high iron concentration, which is what gives it that bright red color. And it also has a significantly denser muscle fiber distribution, which makes it harder for the stomach to digest and break down those muscle fibers, compared to white meat at least. GLP-1s cause a side effect known as slowing down of gastric emptying, which is what helps you to feel full longer, right? Food takes longer to digest and move through your digestive tract, so you eat less. Now, when you combine the two, you have red meat that just sits in your stomach and the GLP-1s that slow down your gastric emptying, so the red meat just continuously sits in your stomach, and this leads to significant irritation of the gastric lining and can lead to nausea, vomiting, and even sometimes sulfur burps and reflux. So what do I recommend instead? Try lean white meats such as chicken or turkey, especially ground up, because those are much more gentler and safer on your stomach and hopefully prevent side effects. The next group of foods I recommend avoiding are fried and greasy foods. And why is that? These foods tend to have a higher fat concentration, and fats are broken down in the body by enzymes that are secreted from the pancreas. GLP-1 agonists act on the pancreas to help secrete insulin in a glucose-dependent manner. So GLP-1 agonists already put a little bit of stress on the pancreas, and now eating heavy, greasy fried foods, which forces the pancreas to release a lot of enzymes to help break down this fat, also puts another level of stress on the pancreas. This can lead to abdominal discomfort and distension, and it's just overall very uncomfortable. So I recommend avoiding any sort of fast food or foods that are heavily fried. Instead, opt for healthier options, such as things that might be baked or air fried, so that it uses less oils and it's easier on your stomach. I also recommend most of my patients avoid artificial sweeteners, and that includes sucralose, mannitol, sorbitol. They are very difficult to break down. They're not a natural substance for the body, so the body does not know how to digest this. So what happens is that you end up with gas, bloating, and just overall discomfort. And a lot of my patients are sabotaging their weight loss by incorporating things that are 0 calories because they don't have any actual sugar in them, but they have these chemicals that the body does not know what to do with, and it ultimately leads to GI side effects that sometimes keeps my patients from taking their medication and ultimately leads to weight loss stalls. So avoid foods that have artificial sweeteners, especially Diet Cokes or diet candies, and instead opt for healthier options such as seltzers that may be flavored or fruit instead. The next food I recommend avoiding is raw cruciferous vegetables. Think broccoli, cauliflower, or Brussels sprouts. I actually see this a lot in my patients who are first-time GLP-1 users and are looking to clean up their diet. And it's great. They are told that these vegetables are healthy, which they are. However, when they start having sudden gas and bloating and GI upset, they're all of a sudden shocked and don't know what's going on. The problem is these vegetables, especially when eaten raw, have a lot of insoluble fiber, which is tough and painful on the GI tract to break down, especially when GLP-1s are already slowing down gastric digestion. It puts even more stress on the GI tract, and this leads to gas and usually acid reflux. So what do I recommend? If you are keen on eating Brussels sprouts or broccoli because you love them so much, I recommend either steaming them or roasting them so that it helps break down those fibers and makes it gentler on your stomach. So let me know below which foods have caused you the most GI discomfort and you try to completely avoid on your GLP-1 journey. Last but not least, and this isn't really a type of food, but I highly recommend avoiding large meals. I think especially for those of us who have had eating disorders and are used to not listening to our body's natural stop sign of when to stop eating, it's easy for us to overeat. However, on a GLP-1, when your gastric emptying and your GI system is slowed down, overeating can be the difference between feeling comfortable and being in the bathroom all day with nausea and vomiting. So I highly recommend eating slowly and stopping when you feel full. I know for a lot of us, it's hard to remember what that feeling of fullness was like, but I promise that GLP-1s will give your body that feeling back. When you hit that stop sign, make it a hard stop. So eat small, more frequent meals as your body tolerates, especially when you're first starting out, or especially if you're increasing your dose. Avoiding these foods will drastically improve how you tolerate your GLP-1 medication or dose adjustment so that you can minimize side effects and maximize your weight loss results. So please comment below if you have any other foods that you personally recommend avoiding, or if you have any other tips for our community. As always, if you have questions, please also leave them below. I try my best to get back to every single one of you. That's all I have for this video, but I'll see you next time.